Hey guys, so today I'm going to be filming the first video in a new series here on my channel. I am going to be doing a collection series. Now I have already posted my makeup collection in storage for 2016. I'll have that video linked up here. But what I'm going to be doing in this video is going category by category through my collection, showing you what I have and giving you my thoughts on everything in that category. So I thought I would start out this series with foundations. So back in December of 2014, I filmed a foundation collection and overview, which I'll have linked right up here. I planned on doing a collection series, but then I never did it. But I definitely will be actually following through and doing it this time. And make sure you check out that other foundation overview that I linked, because I only have one repeat foundation from that video and the formula has completely changed since that video, so I have different thoughts on it now. So I'm going to be linking first impressions for all of these foundations in the description box. I think I have too many to be able to do cards for them all, so make sure you check down below. And I will of course list and link all of the foundations in the description box as well. So I currently only have 4 foundations in my collection, which I think is pretty darn good. There are 2 foundations that I am decluttering, so I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys now in this video, and then I will be getting rid of them. So I'm okay with having 4 foundations. I would much rather only have 2 or 3, but I'm okay with the 4 I have because I'm going to try to work through them and not buy any new foundations. So I tried out so many different foundations in 2015, and unfortunately I was disappointed with most of them. So that's why this year I'm trying not to go out there and experiment with foundations, because I've just been disappointed from what I've tried. And just to let you all know my skin type and what I look for in foundation, I have incredibly oily skin. I am very fair with a strong yellow undertone. All of those things combined make it very, very difficult for me to find a foundation that works for me in all of those areas. When I purchase foundation, what I'm looking for the most is of course a good color match. I also like medium buildable to full coverage, and I want it to help control my oil. So first I'm going to start by talking about the foundations that I will be decluttering. First is the L'Oreal True Match. I have the shade W1 Porcelain, which is the lightest shade with warm undertones. This is the worst foundation I have ever used, and I know people rave and rave and rave about this, but it does not work for me whatsoever. With 2 layers, I have light medium coverage. I am not going to be putting on more layers than that because that's just way too much makeup. This does not hold up well against oil in my opinion. I found that I got oily very, very quickly. And the worst thing about this foundation is the way that it looked on my skin. First up, this shade is too light for me. I should have gone with W2, but I hated the formula so much I was not going to go out and buy the correct shade for me, because I was able to work with it to get a feel for what I think about the foundation as a whole. So the reason that I hate this so much is the way that it looks on my skin. So I have acne, but it tends to be right around my chin. My cheeks are traditionally very clear. I don't have any acne scarring. I have pores really close to my nose, but that's it. My cheeks are pretty smooth and even. This foundation made my face look so bad. It looked like I had a crater face and that I had been popping pimples since I was 5 years old. And like I said, I don't have texture. I don't have any acne scarring on my cheeks, but this foundation made it look like I did. So if you are someone that actually has texture or actually has acne scarring on your skin, this is only going to emphasize it and make it look 10 times worse. So please stay far away from this foundation, no matter what your skin type is, if you do have texture and you have scarring. So because of the way that this looked on my skin is why I just couldn't deal with wearing this ever again, because what's the point of putting on foundation and all of my makeup if it's just gonna look that bad? I would rather wear no makeup than wear this makeup. The next foundation I will be decluttering is the Catrice All Matte Plus in the shade 010 Light Beige. Catrice is a European brand that now has some of their products being sold at Ulta, which was very, very exciting. I do have an entire review video on the Catrice products that I tried, which I'll link up here in case you want to hear more thoughts about other Catrice items, but I was highly disappointed with this because It's Kirsten had gone to Europe, had purchased this foundation, and really loved the formula. And in the comments of my first impression, I did have some people from Europe telling me that they were thinking that the European and the US version of this foundation might be a little bit different. And I really hope that it is, because I hope you all in Europe are able to get a good foundation, because for me, I was highly disappointed with this one. So first off, it comes in like 4 or 5 shades, which is absolutely terrible for a foundation. So with 2 layers, I was able to get light medium, maybe medium coverage out of this foundation, which is a no-go for me. That is just too many layers for too little coverage. Also, for a foundation that claims it controls oil, this did an absolutely terrible job. They should have just left that claim off there, because it was not accurate whatsoever. I get just as oily as quickly throughout the day as I do when I wear a foundation that does not have that mattifying claim. Also, this shade match was not perfect for me, and it oxidized throughout the day. I am very fortunate that this foundation and the CoverGirl Outlast 3-in-1 foundation are the only 2 that have ever oxidized on me, because I cannot deal with that. Because if I am finally able to create some concoction to make that foundation match the rest of my body, then a couple hours later it looks orange and too dark, that's a waste of time for me. I don't want to deal with that and then go around the rest of my 10-12 hour day looking like a hot mess. So then for the foundations I'm actually keeping in my collection, I have 2 drugstore and 2 high-end. My first drugstore foundation is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in the shade 110 Porcelain. Now this is a little bit too light for me, so I pair it with my NYX Set It Don't Fret It powder in light medium, which is a bit too dark. So the 2 shades of those together create a perfect match for me. So I'm really glad I found that combination, because I think the formulas work together really well. This foundation with 2 layers gives medium coverage, which I'm okay with. I would much prefer medium buildable to full coverage, but I am okay with wearing medium coverage. This foundation does an okay job of controlling oil, but nothing spectacular. Again, this is a foundation where I feel like I have to touch up just as frequently throughout the day as I do when I use a non-mattifying foundation. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but I do have super duper oily skin. If you're someone that just has combination skin that gets oily in your T-zone, I think that this would really help to mattify you. But if you are a true oily skin person like me, it is not going to be doing enough. Another thing about this foundation is that it does not last all day on me. I find that after 6 or 8 hours, it really does start to fade and disappear from certain areas on my face, usually around my chin, because I'm constantly touching my mouth, resting my chin on my hand and whatnot. I find that with this foundation in particular, it definitely wears away. So I had a difficult time figuring out how best to apply this foundation, because for most foundations and in all of my first impressions, I will apply them with the RC Cosmetics Angled Flat Top Kabuki brush, which I absolutely love. This does help to give great coverage and really buff foundations into the skin. This brush is fantastic, but it did not work with this foundation. It made the foundation look streaky, and it also didn't give more coverage. And usually a brush like this will really help maximize the coverage of a foundation. I have found the best way to apply this foundation is with a sponge. I love using the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and also the Pure Mineral Sponge that comes with their Cameo Contour Stick. Both of these work really well with this foundation. So overall with this foundation, I like it way more than the L'Oreal and Catrice. I am going to use up this bottle, but I will not repurchase it. This is a foundation that I really only wear when I'm filming for the day, and that's all, because it's going to be a short day. I do not wear this when I'm going to work, because I'll have my makeup on for like 14 hours and this has totally broken up, look like a hot mess halfway through the day, and then I still have half of a work shift left looking like a hot mess. So I just don't love the coverage. I don't think it does a good job of controlling my oil, and it doesn't last on me throughout the day. So I do not understand the hype at all about this foundation. My next foundation is the Hard Candy Glamoflague in the shade Porcelain. This foundation gives medium buildable to full coverage in 2 layers. It has a great consistency. It is not too thin and it's not too thick. This also does a pretty good job at controlling my oil, and this is definitely one of the best drugstore foundations I have ever ever tried. Unfortunately, they do not have a very good shade selection. They do not have very many deep shades. And also a very strange but important thing to note is that the color that you see in the tube is not the color you're going to get on your face. Even though this is a clear tube, you're seeing the actual product. For some reason, when you apply it to your face, it actually shows up lighter. I've never had that happen with any other foundation. Usually it shows up darker on the skin, but that is something I've heard from other people, so I wanted to let you all know that. So I did purchase the lightest shade Porcelain, which is fair with a yellow undertone. Now this looks basically white when I apply this on its own. So this is my perfect mixing foundation because it is light enough and it does have a bit of a yellow undertone. Most of the foundations that I own, I tried to get them in that beigey yellow undertone, but then the shade is a bit too dark for me. This is seriously a holy grail product as a mixing foundation because it doesn't really change the consistency of foundations. I have used this with so many different foundations that all have different consistencies, and I find that this works well with all of them, which I feel is kind of difficult to come across. So this is absolutely a hidden gem. This is a holy grail foundation of mine. I have had a comment asking if I would buy this foundation in my correct shade, and I definitely think that I would, but I do have to be honest and say that I'm kind of nervous to go to Walmart, try a couple different shades, because you don't really know how it's going to turn out on your skin. To find my correct shade, I just don't want to end up buying 3 different foundations to find the shade for me. So I think right now I'm just going to stick with this Porcelain because it works really well with my other foundations, but I would definitely recommend trying this out, and I would purchase this in my correct skin tone shade to wear on its own because I am very impressed with the coverage and the mattifying properties. Does it keep me matte all day? No, I've never had any foundation do that for me, but it does a much better job than the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. Moving on to my high-end foundations. First is the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade 1W1 Bone. This is the foundation that I had mentioned in my original foundation collection and overview, but unfortunately, since I first mentioned it, this foundation formula has changed drastically, and I'm real disappointed by it. So the original bottle of this foundation that I tried was literally perfect. It was very fair, very yellow. It was full coverage. It had a satin matte finish, and it did a great job at controlling oil. I have never, ever found a foundation so perfect for me. Well, Estee Lauder apparently hates my guts, and they decided to change the foundation. So now, as you can see, this foundation is too dark for me. It is still yellow, but it is not fair at all, and this is the lightest warm tone shade. So whenever I use this foundation, I have to use 1 pump of this and about half a pump of my hard candy to help lighten it to get my correct shade, which is super disappointing because with the original bottle that I had, I could just apply it straight to my face. It was good to go. I didn't have to mix anything with it. It was perfect. It was so hard for me to be able to find my perfect color match. Now it's gone forever. This is what I'm working with. So I am able to make it work for me because I do use that Hard Candy Glamoflague. Thank God for that, because I do enjoy the formula of this foundation still. With 2 layers, it is medium buildable, which I think is still pretty good. It isn't as full coverage as it once was, but it definitely is full enough to satisfy me. Now this does a pretty decent job of controlling my oil. Not as nice, but still great. Also, the best way to apply this foundation for me is using a sponge. This is a bit more of a thin, runny consistency. Not too runny, but it is on the thin side. I really like the way that this melts into my skin when I use a sponge instead of a brush. This is still one of the best foundations I've ever tried, even in this new formula. I just would not consider it holy grail anymore. My last foundation is the Kat Von D Lock It Tattoo in the shade Light 45. Now this is a little bit too deep for me, and it does have beigey undertones. I would prefer it to be yellow undertones, but I am able to get away with it because it is more neutral, and I just mix in a little bit of my Hard Candy Glamoflague to lighten the shade to help get my perfect match. So this foundation is very thick consistency, which I don't mind. It is full coverage in 1 layer, which I love. So this does an okay job holding up against oil. Not the best. I think the Estee Lauder does a better job, but it isn't terrible. So the good thing is it doesn't break up your foundation, but the oil will just come through. So I just blot, powder a little bit, and I'm totally good to go. One of the cons about this foundation is that because it is so thick, it does emphasize pores and lines. So I have to do extra double duty and make sure to prep my pores and my fine lines really well before using this foundation. If you have a ton of lines, then I wouldn't recommend this because I think it will just be too high maintenance to go through and help fix those areas. This is another one of my favorite foundations. I would definitely repurchase this one when I finish it up. I wouldn't consider this holy grail, but it is absolutely a favorite, and I like to apply this foundation best with my RC Cosmetics Angled Flat Top Kabuki brush. I really like the way that this blends into the skin better than using a sponge. Because this is so thick, when I try using a sponge, I feel like it can just be hard to move the sponge around, and that it can sometimes cake up my sponge and break up my sponge, so I just prefer using a brush. So guys, that was my foundation collection and overview for 2016. Please let me know what video you would like to see next. Do you want me to go category by category of how I apply the products on my face, or do you want me to pick random categories? I would love to know what you guys would like to see next. I really think I just want to do whatever video you guys want to see the most. I'm definitely thinking about doing a palette collection next. I think that would be so fun and exciting. So let me know what you guys are wanting to see. Please let me know your favorite foundations. I would love to know your thoughts if you've tried any of these foundations. Thank you all so much for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.